I used to even put my laptop in the fridge, by the way, so that it cools down in time. I think that's how I spoiled the laptop.
Maybe because your parents were so strict, they trained your creativity.
In a way, yes.
That's not wrong though.
That's not wrong. But at what
That's not
cost?
wrong.
But at what
Turned out
cost?
well.
At the cost of my
Rebellion.
mental health.
So the statement for today's debate is, helicopter parenting does more harm than good. Well, I feel like a lot of Singaporeans throw this term around. Helicopter parenting is a modern-day phenomenon where parents excessively monitor and involve themselves in every aspect of their children's lives, often to the point of being overprotective and controlling. So we have two teams. Zeliang and Cheryl are in the affirmative team, so they agree with this statement, while Amanda and I are in the negative team, so we are fighting against them. We'll have 5 minutes to present our argument, and then later on we have a debate. So with that being said, let's start with the affirmative team.
Helicopter parenting, while well-intentioned, ultimately does more harm than good. By excessive controlling of children's lives, parents stifles their independence, preventing kids to develop the essential skill needed to navigate adulthood. First of all, helicopter parenting severely limits a child's independence, like the constant parental involvement in every aspect of a child's life, from academic decisions to social interactions, prevents them from learning how to navigate the world on their own. As a result, these children often struggle to develop self-confidence needed to make the decisions, face challenges, and learn from their mistakes. Without the chance to practice these, they are ill-prepared for adulthood and essentially they cannot make it up. Okay. Secondly, helicopter parenting impairs problem-solving skills. When a parent intervenes at the first sign of difficulty, they rob the children of the opportunity to think critically and creatively. Over time, these children may become risk-averse and overly dependent on others to solve the problems for them, which can hinder their ability to succeed in complex real-world situations. Finally, the emotion and psychological impact of these helicopter parenting cannot be overlooked. Children raised in this environment often experience heightened levels of anxiety due to stress and constant pressure to meet their parents' high expectations. Studies have shown that these children are more likely to struggle with their mental health issues such as anxiety and depression later in life. The protectiveness that characterizes helicopter parenting creates an environment where children feel like they must constantly perform to avoid disappointing their parents, leading to a long-term emotional damage.
When we talk about helicopter parenting, I think a lot of times, right, what people confuse is responsible parenting versus helicopter parenting. Because they feel like, oh, it's the same, isn't it? I'm being a responsible parent. I'm looking after my child. I am watching over everything they do to make sure that they are sheltered from unnecessary harm in this very cruel world. But more often than not, I think we're doing a bit too much. We are overprotective. We are micromanaging everything that they do. We schedule their daily lives, including the weekends, all the way down to the minutes, and they have no autonomy over their own lives. So you say that, okay lah, they're young, they don't know what they want in life, but so much so I'm trying to teach them and to help them, to guide them. But then along the way, do many of the helicopter parents know when it's a good time to let go? Because they often carry from like childhood, when you're still very young, or a toddler, to adolescence, all the way to adulthood eventually. Even in the adult working world right now, right, you have colleagues or interns coming in telling you like, oh, I'm not sure if I can hop on this project. I need to check my parents first. Huh? Your mom, interview for you for the job, is it? It's good that you have a reliable family, a protective family to fall back on, but they can't always be there for you. And more often than not, you are left incompetent, you are not confident in yourself or so, and then you don't know where to start every time you fall down. So, what is helicopter parenting? There are some terms, I would say over-attentive, like micromanaging, overly fearful of a child's experiences and problems, and you care a lot about their successes and failures as well. So they want the best for the kid. I mean, it's all in the good name of doing well for my child, right? But when is the time where you realize that you have crossed a line? Now, I want to quote this theory. Now, I didn't study psych. Anyone here study psychology? All right, okay, good. So I can throw this out. No one knows. So there's this theory. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's called the self-determination theory, whereby it talks about we as human beings, we have 3 basic psychological needs, which is autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So that means number 1, autonomy. You need to feel like you have the ability to make your own choices in life. Number 2, you need to be competent. You need to be confident in your abilities and in your own accomplishments. And 3, you need to have reliable and genuine relationships in your life to make you feel like a true living human being. So when your parents are helicoptering, they are hovering over everything you do, you are left incompetent, like I said earlier, because you don't know how to handle failures, you don't know how to learn, and then you don't know how to handle relationships because your parents do everything for you.
Okay, that was a beautiful 5 minutes. Very strong argument. I think Amanda and I might just give up right now, but
No.
we will do our best to fight. So is the timer ready? Okay. So today we are arguing the negative. Helicopter parenting does not do more harm than good, which means one of two things. Helicopter parenting brings more benefits, or helicopter parenting brings just as many benefits as it does harm. To break this down, we are not contesting that it is not harmful. We are just arguing that the cons, however much, does not outweigh the pros. It might be the same or just a little bit lesser. So the definition of helicopter parenting is a term that describes parents who pay close attention to their child's experiences and problems, particularly in school. My first argument is that while a large number of studies explain the harms of helicopter parenting, some studies have shown that children of helicopter parenting have been found with higher life satisfaction and better psychological well-being. Second argument, we are all different. Different phases of childhood, from infancy to adolescence, requires specific levels of protection and control to promote optimal developmental outcomes. The development of the prefrontal cortex, which everyone has, is only accomplished at age 25 minimum, and this subserves our highest order cognitive abilities. So in conclusion, helicopter parenting can be highly beneficial for children at a younger age. In addition, children have different needs and cognitive abilities from the get-go, which means that some children may need a more extensive parenting style as compared to others. My third argument is that studies have shown that close relationships with parents are related to reductions in youth suicide. In this study, parental support was measured in terms of emotional, academic, and financial support. Some statements that were given were: they give me help when I encounter hardship. They counsel me on academic problems. They give me necessary information and good books. And they teach me good study habits and way of life. And these are all attributes of a helicopter parent. Findings from this study show that parental support in all of the sub-skill elements had a significant influence on decreasing suicidal ideation. Now, some benefits of helicopter parenting are: they bring discipline to a child's life, and they know the location of their children at all times, which is critical to safety, and they're usually very, very aware of how their child is doing in school, and they can support their child if necessary, if they are struggling. Helicopter parents also ensure that issues that the children face are addressed as soon as possible, and these parents tend to be very involved in every school function. And studies have shown when parents are involved so much, schools become successful because there is a strong and positive relationship among students, parents, teachers, and the community that has been established.
So to add on to Elizabeth's point, I would say that, helicopter parents, they tend to know their children. They know how they are doing in school. They know who they are friends with and everything. And, if their child is struggling academically, they know what to do exactly to support them. And this is especially true when it comes to illnesses, especially bullying. So I'll just give you guys some cases and statistics on bullying. So according to National Youth Council 2021, National Youth Survey says that 12.5% of Singaporean youth, they report having experienced some form of bullying, whether or not it's physical, verbal, or cyberbullying. And this actually represents a very notable proportion of youth population affected by bullying. And also, MOE in 2022, the reports indicates that 7% of primary and secondary school students in Singapore experienced bullying in the past year, which was in 2021, and that's not too long ago. This actually caused 30% of the bullying victims experiencing clinically significant symptoms of anxiety and depression. So can you imagine helicopter parenting when it comes to play, how much of a positive impact it can help the child when the child is experiencing bullying in school? Parents actually play a huge role here, and hence we both feel that helicopter parenting is very important in a child's life.
So we have both presented our arguments. It is time to move on to the next round, which is the debate. So we've got our boxing gloves on. We're going to fight for this. Would you guys like to start?
Sure.
To attack us?
Okay. You talked about bullying, right? Okay. I think bullying, it is quite an important topic for us to tackle. So what parents can do, as you mentioned, they can provide strong support, a strong backline for the kids to fall back on when they are facing bullying incidents in school. They can come home and tell the parents, and the parents can counsel them. But I think that's about it. So they can't really go as much as going to the school. You're going to fight the bully. You cannot, right?
I think our point about the helicopter parent is that a lot of children, and statistics have shown this, they are afraid to speak up when they are being bullied. So it takes a helicopter parent, the involvement and the care and the attention that a helicopter parent provides, to be able to spot the differences in their child's behavior and to be able to check in on them and to encourage them to open up about the issues that they are facing.
I agree.
And to add on statistically, 2023 survey by NUS, they revealed 40% of the parents were not fully aware of bullying experiences their children face. So there's this lack of awareness, and because of this lack of awareness, it could have prevented a lot that a kid is experiencing.
Then my question would be, would it be necessary to be helicopter parenting? It could just be bad parenting on people's end, or like they're not involved with their child, but that doesn't mean that to be involved in your child's life, you have to be a helicopter parent.
Because helicopter parenting, by our definition and definition abroad, is that you are really looking at every single aspect of a kid's life. But I think when it comes to bullying and your kid's mental health and etc., that is what a responsible parent would do anyway, not just a helicopter parent. Talk about statistics. I've got some statistics for you as well. So this is actually quoted from a journal that was published in 2022 on Frontiers in Psychology, a medical journal. So it's called A Systemic Review of Helicopter Parenting and its Relationship with Anxiety and Depression. It was from two professors, I believe. They were from Norway. So they went to look through every single study that was conducted in relationship to helicopter parenting and anxiety and depression from 1985 all the way to 2022. And here's what they found. So in 10 of the studies examining the relationship between helicopter parenting and anxiety, they discovered that it is about 50%. So 5 of the cases showed that there was a direct relationship with anxiety due to helicopter parenting. But you say, okay lah, 50%, right? So the other 50 counter-argues it. Okay, let's look at depression. So 9 out of 11 studies investigating the relationship between helicopter parenting and depression found an effect in this relationship. So there is actually a link. There are more studies to be done. Of course, you can argue that, you don't know which one came first. Was it because of the helicopter parenting, or was it because of depression and anxiety due to other reasons? But I'm just saying that there is a link after all. So what we're trying to say here is you have to look at helicopter parenting and what are all the different aspects that they're looking at for a child. It's not just your mental health. It's everything that you do. So I grew up in a pretty strict household. I wouldn't say that it was necessarily helicopter parenting, but my parents, they focused a lot on my academics. But they also cared a lot about my behavior in school. Any teachers made a complaint. My time, they wouldn't go and argue with the teacher, but helicopter parents now, they will actually argue with the teacher. How dare you mark down my son for this? How dare you put him back for detention? And then my parents will track everywhere I'm going, like I mentioned, right? Your parents know your whereabouts at all time. And I tell you what, there's zero freedom. You feel suffocated, right? Because you are just going from point A to B, which is your home to school, and then B to A, school to home every single day, or if not, point C, tuition. That's all. Nothing else in between. You are not allowed to go to a friend's house. You can't go stay overs. You can't do whatever you want in life. And that taught me to sneak around. See, that's what it gets you, because I became a sneaky little child. I know how to cheat around everything I do. I know how to, they cannot watch TV at home, right? So I on the TV, then I time before they come back, half an hour. I will off the TV, I put a fan there, I blow the TV. Then when they touch the TV, then it's cold. TV yeah, see? I used to even put my laptop in the fridge, by the way, so that it cools down in time. I think that's how I spoiled the laptop. Wow. But you see, because they over-harvest so much that I feel suffocated, and I found ways to escape their control.
Would you say they were helicopter parents?
Not to the full extent, no. Because if they were helicopter parents, they will have, by today's definition, I think it will be even more controlling.
Overprotective.
But then
more protective.
That just completely ruins your entire argument, because if they weren't helicopter parents and you were already behaving
more
this way.
so imagine if it's a helicopter parent.
No, but this is just, you're arguing on a possibility right here. So you can't use that.
No, it's on top of
he could have been, but he could not have been as well.
No, I definitely would have been worse. It's not could, it would have been worse.
So on top of controlling the kid, you go to the teachers and imagine you say how dare you give my kid a B, you should give him an A. You cannot.
No, but that's a straw man fallacy as well, because now you're arguing to the extreme. Helicopter parents may not be able to do that. I think that's an exaggeration of what helicopter parents may do. And also, you brought up a lot of studies and statistics. I did a research on all these papers as well. And I must say that all these have a disclaimer where they talk about how there are issues with validity with their findings, because there is a possible distortion of self-report measures, and few robust longitudinal studies undermine most of these findings. So we cannot take the results of these findings too seriously. And like you mentioned, a lot of them reported 50-50 as well. So that being said, I think it skews a little bit to our favor for this. And you also mentioned that it stifles the independence and they're not able to develop skills needed. But I feel like to an extent, all parents are helicopter parents anyway. Like what Zeliang mentioned, his parents did perform some of the attributes that we do attribute to helicopter parents. And that's because parents are always there to ensure that their children are on the right track. If we do fall off, it is their responsibility to pick us up and to push us back on the right track. And they need to be on the ball to be able to know when we fall, because they need to be able to pick us up as soon as possible. And if a parent was more hands-off, I don't think they would be able to recognize that instantly.
So my argument, I'll give you two examples. One is an example of myself. So from stories I've heard from my parents after I've grown up, right, is that my parents, they were a bit of an opposite. So my mom is more of a typical helicopter parent. So she actually watches over everything I do. Since young, according to my dad, she will actually limit the amount of time I can go to the playground and what kind of playground equipments I can touch. My dad said that I was so afraid of touching all these so-called dangerous things due to my mom telling me that it's potentially dangerous, that I was afraid to try a lot of new things at a very young age. And then growing up, my dad took the other control, and then he's just like, do whatever you want. But he was kind of there watching me in case things went wrong, but it kind of like pushed me to try more things. So I have a friend who kind of grew up with typical helicopter parents. So when she grew up, she did not know how to cook because the parents did everything for her. The parents made sure she had very balanced diets. She knows what to eat, but then she doesn't know how to cook for herself. She cannot do any house chores. When she went to study overseas, she was having the worst time of her life because she could not survive alone because she was not independent. Everything she did at home, her parents already planned it for her. So they don't know how to be independent. And when they face adversities in school or when they enter the working world, the boss scold them, right? They'll just start crying because they don't know what to do. They have never failed and now have someone to fall back on because the parents are not there to tell them that it's okay, you can try again. Here's how we should do it.
I feel like that's an individual problem because I grew up with a helper my entire life. I never had to do household chores. I've never once cooked a meal growing up. Everything was settled for me by my helper. But at this age, where I feel like I am an adult, I have learned to cook. I have learned to do household chores. Not because I have to, but when I travel, and I do travel for an extensive period of time, for example, 2 months, I do clean up after myself. I do know how to do laundry, which I learned by myself.
When do you learn how to do all these?
Like your parents didn't tell you it was dangerous to cook an egg. Like it was dangerous to go like near fire and you shouldn't touch it at all. It was someone who helped you to do things, not because they restricted you to do it. You could have done it yourself, but someone was there to help you do it. It's not because you couldn't do it.
But this is in response to his argument where her parents, she didn't have to do it because her parents did it for her.
And
which is similar to mine. I didn't have to do it because I had someone do it for me.
Yeah, correct. Like someone helped you do it, but you could do it yourself. But compared to what his argument was...
And his friend could do it herself as well, but she didn't because her parents did it for her.
Didn't allow her to do it.
That's not what he said.
Okay, so but then your example is also like an individual issue, right? Because for you, it worked out for you.
Yeah.
But for others who had similar experiences growing up, they had a helper. And maybe their parents are helicopter parents as well. And then they never had a chance to do because the helpers did everything for them. And then the parents also told them that you don't need to do like helper will be here. And then well into their mid-20s, they still don't know how to do all these things. Just because you know how to do it doesn't mean the rest know how to do it.
But a parent telling the child you don't have to do it is not an attribute of helicopter parenting.
Yeah. So what do you feel is helicopter parenting?
So helicopter parenting is really just being very protective and involved in your child's life and trying to pick them up when they fail, trying to plan out the best journey possible for them.
So how much protectiveness is necessary? How much is too much?
So I think our argument is that at a younger age, when the prefrontal cortex hasn't been developed yet and children do not have
That's until 25,
the ability...
right?
25.
Sorry?
You say until 25. So the parents have to be there until they're 25?
No, so it starts off younger, and I think as they grow older, as it gets more developed over age, because it doesn't just hit 25 and then develop.
Sure, okay.
Right? It develops over time. So as it develops and as they develop the cognitive ability to make better decisions and to be able to do critical thinking better, then parents can slowly let go. But at a young age, for example, when you mentioned going to the playground, your parents did have genuine concern as to why you shouldn't be going on a monkey bar. I mean, if you were 3 or 4 years old, I feel that would be a very, very reasonable request for a parent to give their child.
Okay.
You know, avoid the more dangerous playground equipment. Don't stick your hand into a power socket. You know, don't play with fire. That's
a huge jump, but okay.
But these are the kind of things that helicopter parents, I feel, would tell their children. They would tell them not to do this and maybe try something else instead. There are restrictions placed because they kind of know better in that sense. The child is too young to have developed these kind of rules and guidelines for living a safe life.
So that's what parents say, right? Because we know better. We have been through this. The Chinese saying, wow, 我 吃的盐比你吃的饭都多. That's what they say, right? Because I've been through all this already. I'm telling you the best way. 我不要你走弯路. I'm doing what's best for you. That's what parents like to say. And you end up being a helicopter parent all the way until their mid-20s or even 30s because you say, okay, gradually they will wean off. They will move away. They stop being so protective. But how many of them know when is a good point to start weaning off? They will just think that I can do this, keep doing this. My kid is not ready yet.
You will
my
always
kid's
be my
frontal
baby.
cortex is not ready yet. I have to keep protecting them. They're 25, not yet, almost there. 35, okay lah, almost there. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of helicopter parents, and more often than not, they do not know when they have crossed the line of protectiveness and overprotectiveness. When you're protecting your kid, I think it's essential. But I think most of the helicopter parents that we see, they tend to fall into the other category of being overprotective. That's when your kid does not know how to be independent, does not know how it is like to develop your own competency, does not know how to develop your self-confidence.
A lot of time, I think the intention there is good, helicopter parents. And it's quite funny because we always, if our parents are helicopter parents, we end up being helicopter parents ourselves.
Yep.
Because we can see the benefits of being helicopter parents.
Okay.
Yeah, because we know that, as helicopter parents, you create some structure in your kids' life because they don't know much things. If you know that your child is good in track because he has the physique in doing track, there are some schools who are good in track and field.
Yep.
Right? There are some schools who are not so good, but maybe if your kid is good in swimming, then some schools are good in swimming. So helicopter parents, they know their kid inside out to the point that they know what to give their kids, what to feed their kids. So that's also one of the reasons why when we are being helicopter parent, we also become helicopter parent ourselves because we want the best for our children.
Actually, I agree with the point that your parents can be more knowledgeable when it comes to choosing different schools and CCAs and things you're talented at to develop you into the best version of yourself. But do they know when to stop? Because I know people who can't even choose their own university classes schedule. I don't even know when to play. I need to ask my mom, should I have class on Monday or Tuesday or when? And that's the difference. And I think a lot of helicopter parents, the reason they become helicopter parents is they're trying to overcompensate for their lack of attention and lack of care from their own parents during their childhood.
It's good when they are kids, but when they are grown up, it's detrimental for them. So in the end, are your kids going to stay a child forever? No, they're going to be adults. So it's detrimental.
Okay, I think our argument was more like a calm discussion as how to mitigate helicopter parenting.
We're expecting a full fight.
Yeah, kind of. I did bring my boxing glove. No, but this actually brings us to our next part where we talk about how we can strike a balance between helicopter parenting or something that is a bit more chill, more relaxed, and more holistic for a child. So, do you guys want to kick things off?
Ooh. Yeah. Where to start, yeah?
Yeah, I think that, Asian parents, like we're using ourselves as examples. 望子成龙,望女成凤. You want the best for your kid. You kind of roughly know how the world is like. And you don't want your kids to go on the wrong path. And you try to do whatever is best for them. That's what we all want as good, responsible parents, right? Yeah. And I think what we can do is, by definition, helicopter parents, they are just like a helicopter over a head, looking at everything you do. I think it's good, as you mentioned, at a very young age.
Yes.
But I think it's good to have an open discussion and to know when it's a good time for us as parents, for example, I'm not a parent yet, to slowly pull off and let your kids to try things on their own, watch them fail, and then learn from their mistakes.
And then tell them, like give them guiding points on like how to fix it or navigate through life.
I feel like your kids should know what are some failures that they can go through that are non-life threatening, non-life changing.
I think there's also reasons why there's like so many guidebooks about how to be a good parent. I think nobody knows how to be a good parent. This is something that nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
So I think just like maybe good balance is important, trial and error is important, and also maybe like communication with your kids is also very important.
Actually, I heard this very interesting thing online. I saw a few journals and articles while we were doing research as well, right? So apparently there's this article that someone wrote and quoted a psychologist from New York. You're saying that a lot of times, I think helicopter parents, they are kind of afraid. Not all, but some of them, they are afraid of being labelled as a bad parent. So in Singaporean terms, kiasu Like you see other parents doing this, you want to do the
Whatever we
same,
can do,
so we
we
cannot
must do.
lose. And you're also afraid that when you're not doing this, you're not being as kiasu. Other parents are gonna see like, hey, Jonathan's mom don't even care about his CCA. She's not even here for the parent support group meeting. She doesn't care about her child law. Like my child goes for all these classes from Monday to Friday. Well, she doesn't even care. So some people, they are afraid of being labeled as a bad parent. So they try to compensate by putting in all their time and effort. And they make the child feel a little bit suffocated. They themselves are drained. Can you imagine your 5 to 9 after a 9 to 5?
Yeah.
It's just being a helicopter. Yeah, man, that's got to be tiring, like an Apache helicopter over a house every day.
Apache.
I can't imagine it. And then some people also said, including the psychologists, they said that sometimes it is actually more tiring to watch your child make mistakes on their own, fail, and then be there to support them.
Yeah.
So they're saying that, you have to watch them and to just let them be, watch it with all your heartache. You watch them fail and then you teach them the right way and you support them. And it could be very time consuming. It could be very draining as well.
True.
Isn't that just a waste of time? If you know your child is going to fuck something up epically, you're just sitting there like, okay, I'll wait for you to fuck up. Then I'll tell you how to do it correct.
But like,
Good, but
if
they
you
need experience.
don't let the child fail, the child's not going to know they can't do this in the future. So it's like, you can't let okay, in my opinion, I just usually think that if a child doesn't fail, the child's not going to learn anything. The child's just going to accept that help is going to come and fall on my lap and things are going to go smoothly, right?
But I think that depends on the kind of help you're giving. I'm not saying like do everything for your child, but you could offer guidance and advice. If they're going to do something the wrong way, be like, hey, like stop. Why don't you think about doing this, an alternative way?
What if the child still wants to do it? Then will you let them?
I'm sure you have met kids who refuse to listen to their parents, because I was one of those.
Same.
Yeah,
was a
like
very
my parents were like, hey, you don't run in the kitchen or you don't run here, you'll fall down. And I fall down and I see, you see. And then I see and I learn.
I think I was a very obedient child growing up. So I would listen to my parents a lot. And they weren't helicopters. It's just that I would take whatever they say into account and I would listen to them. So based
for
off of
them.
that, I think we can just agree that the different kids have different needs. So
Yep.
maybe you need to tailor your parenting style to different kids. Although that might seem as unfair. 'Cause
No,
if
yeah,
you're so
yeah.
chill with one, then why are you so strict on the other?
But we all want to have kids who are, who listens to you. It's so much easier to teach,
I
right?
feel like, isn't that like the way the child is brought up forms like whether the child is like behaved well or not. Like it could
Okay.
pander more to, like, for example, to your point when you said your parents were very strict on you and therefore you learn how to sneak around.
Yes.
If your parent were to be like more lenient, more understanding, would you think like you would have been more understanding and more obedient to your parents?
I think so. I'm the kind who will fight back. So the more you tell me not to do something, the more I want to do it.
But maybe because your parents were so strict, they trained your creativity.
In a way, yes.
That's not wrong though.
That's not wrong. But at what
That's not
cost?
wrong.
But at what
Turned out
cost?
well.
At the
Yeah,
cost
exactly.
of my mental health.
Rebellion.
But you know what? It's I understand. Every child is different. There are different ways for you to parent. There's no one right way. And I think it's good that we have a discussion about it and to see lah. So I think sometimes you just have to see that your child suits a certain type of parenting and you see what you can freestyle from there, lor.
I think that
What
brings
a-
us to the end of
What a calm and peaceful discussion.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
this
I was
is-
expecting to
where's
cry. Okay, so I don't think there's any need for me to sum up what we just said because I think that was very concise already. Let us know what you'd like to hear us debate about the next time. And I hope you enjoyed this session. If you like it, comment, like, subscribe, the usual stuff. And a huge thank you to all my guests for coming today. I hope you guys had fun and we'll see you guys very soon.
All right, see you.